na 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 simply.
Hi, I'm Ann from Keep It Simple. I'm going to show you this season how to make fast, affordable, and delicious meals, whether you're cooking for one person or for a lot of people. Everybody can do it, anybody can do it. I've taught kids how to do it, and I've taught grown-ups how to do it. So join us this season for Keep It Simple.
Hamburger casserole.
Hi, I'm Ann and this is Keep It Simple. Today we're cooking hamburger casserole. This recipe that we're going to be making today could feed up to 6 people. You can adjust the amount of ingredients that you use to feed less or more. Usually just add a couple cans of green beans extra than what the recipe here calls for, or dial it back a little bit if you're only cooking for one. So let's get started. I have 1.5 pounds of hamburger that I've already cooked it up and browned it up. Browning is just a fancy word for cooking it all the way through. You want to make sure that hamburger is always cooked all the way through. If you're not a hamburger fan, this recipe is so easily adjusted. You can use ground pork, you can use ground chicken, you can use ground turkey, whatever you want to use, ground meat. You can also use tofu burger, which is actually very good in this recipe. I've used that before too. So if you're not a meat eater, that'll work too. So you go ahead and brown that all up, cook it through all the way through. You can use a slotted spoon if you have one. If you don't, then just drain it off in the sink in a strainer. You know, drain the extra grease and stuff off and throw that away. The other ingredients we have are 2 cans of cream of mushroom soup and 2 cans of green beans. This is 1.5 pounds before it was cooked of hamburger. And that's really pretty much the ingredients as far as it's concerned. I do like to add some salt and pepper to taste and a little bit of soy sauce too. You can do, it's kind of along the same lines as the green bean casserole, but this is a whole meal in one dish. I like to add and stir in my green beans right into the soups in another bowl because it gets mixed together a little bit better, but you can certainly do this all in one pan. If you just want to use the casserole dish, that's fine too. This is so easy. Even I have 3 girls and they all cook now very easily, but you can't let cooking scare you off because it's just so easy and it's very affordable. Now the green beans come in the cans, but we're going to have to drain these off. So you want to take the extra water off of them, and I just drain them off in the sink. That's all you need to do because it's mostly water in there and a little bit of salt usually when they can them for preservation, to preserve them. But you just dump that all off in a strainer. Get them out of there. If you don't have a strainer, you can just tip the lids when you open it with the can opener also and just strain the water off without opening the can lid completely. That'll work too. And that's really good. That's 2 full cans of just the green beans. Okay? And you just want to rinse it so it's not extra watery. Pour it right in with the soups. Like that. Stir it together just so it's all incorporated together, mixed together really good. You don't want to do it too hard. You don't want to break up all the green beans really. So just gently stir everything together so it's easily coated with all the soup and everything together. At this point you can put a little bit of salt and pepper in there if you like, a little bit extra salt and pepper. And just stir that all together. Like that. And then I'm going to start to build the casserole. You take the ground beef and you just pour it all in the bottom of the pan. This has already been drained off. If you don't have a strainer, that's fine. Just use a slotted spoon and dip it out so you don't have a lot of the extra grease left over. And you just want to coat the whole bottom of the pan with the hamburger so it's kind of an even layer. And that's 1.5 pounds of hamburger that's cooked all the way through. And then you just dump the beans in and the soups. Now at this point, if you didn't want to stir the beans and soup together, that's fine too. You just simply pour in the green beans and then take, spoon out the soups and pour it over that too. Over the green beans already in there. And this is when you would add just a couple shakes of soy sauce if you'd like to too. That gives it another depth of flavor a little bit. Smooth that out so it's an even layer also. And then a small bag of tater tots. And all we do is you just take a couple handfuls, is probably about all you're gonna need, or a few maybe. And you just layer them all in here. So everything is on the top. So it completely covers the top of everything. It's just like another layer. And what this does is it keeps everything moist while it's cooking with the soups and stuff in there. It's very hearty. It's great for a summer afternoon or even a winter evening because you're running the oven, which, by the way, let's preheat the oven to about 400 degrees because everything's pretty much baked or cooked already. So all you have to do is warm it through and then cook the tater tots. And we'll preheat that while we're finishing this up. You can usually preheat your oven before you even get started because it takes a few minutes to heat up to temperature. And I'm just going to keep laying these little tater tots out. And see, it's just another layer, just completely covered. Everything is covered. Kind of like a veggie lasagna, I guess, maybe? Not really. Okay, and this is a 9x9 casserole pan with a lid, and you want to cook it for at least the first 30 minutes with the lid on it. Now, if you don't have a casserole dish, that's perfectly fine. You guys can go to the dollar store or wherever and get the little foil pans, the 9x9 foil pans for this big of the recipe, or a smaller one if you're cooking for fewer people. Leftovers are always really good too. But then get a roll of foil with it. You know, that's just a couple bucks right there. And so you need to cover it for at least the first 30 minutes while it's cooking. So we're just going to wait for the oven to come up to temperature and stick it in the oven. Okay, once your temperature gets up to 400 degrees on the oven, you just go ahead and stick it in the middle rack in the oven with the lid, and we're going to let this cook for at least 30 minutes. We'll come back and check it in about 30 minutes to see how it's doing. You want the soups to start bubbling. You'll see them bubbling between the tater tots and everything. That's good. That's about the time that you want to take the lid off and finish cooking the tater tots so they crunch up on top. Alright, while we're letting that big casserole go ahead and cook, it's going to take at least 30 minutes. You want to make sure that the soup is bubbling up between the tater tots before you take the lid off, or if you're using the foil pan, throwaway pan with foil on top, that's when you would take the foil off also and let, you know, the tater tots cook for probably about another 10 minutes just to brown them up on top. I had previously made the same casserole for about one person. It'll feed one or two. And it's just a ½ pound of ground beef with a can of green beans, 1 can of cream of mushroom, and tater tots on top. And it cooked for about 30 minutes until I seen it all bubbling up, and I took the lid off and baked it just another 10 minutes or so to burn up the tater tots and everything on top. And then all we're going to do is scoop this out. It's set for about 10 minutes, not necessarily to cool, but to kind of set up to hold everything together. And you just go ahead and you can spoon it out. It's a great recipe to feed a lot of people or just one. And it's got the whole meal right in there. And you just fix a piece of butter bread to go with that. And of course, you can go without the bread if you want to too. It's just more of a rounded meal, I think, to do it that way. And voila, there's your meal.
Da 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 da